Chair lays out Senate Bill 592 and recognizes Senator Whitmire.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair. Members, 3 separate bills relating to law enforcement training on canine encounters were filed this session in the House. House Bill 593 by Representative Collier represents the consensus bill agreed to by law enforcement and animal welfare advocates. Officers interact with canine roughly 1 in every 3 times they approach a home. However, not all peace officers receive training on how to respond and how to best protect themselves. House Bill 593 establishes a training for peace officers on how to avoid and defend themselves against canine attack, as well as training to protect the safety and lives of our family pets. House Bill 593 requires newly licensed peace officers and officers seeking intermediate or advanced proficiency certification to complete 4-hour canine encounter training program. Anyone who enters basic training will also be enrolled in a class that meets the requirements of this bill. Existing officers are exempt from this statute. This program will be established by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement and will be reviewed by the Commission every 4 years. I want to thank the law enforcement organizations and officers and the Texas Humane Legislative Network for work on this bill. But Senator Burton, a special thanks goes to your constituents, Cindy and Mark Bowling. 3 years ago next month, the Bowling's Border Collie Lily was shot and killed by a well-meaning officer who was at the wrong address. So I think we all know we need to address this issue, and training will go a long ways toward preventing future tragedies. With that, Madam Chair, I have a couple witnesses I know have traveled a long ways to testify.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. Would you like me to ask the resource witness those questions?
You can, or I'll try.
I'm just wondering how, just 4 hours training? That seems like a long time.
It was my first deal, but that was worked with law enforcement. It was like 8 in the House. It passed the House unanimously. We reduced it to 4. And actually, some of these intermediate promotions, they require like 400 hours. And I'm leaving it up to the local departments to come up with a prescription. It would be very arbitrary on our part if I said 2 hours, 4 hours, or 8 hours. But I've inquired about that and been assured by Cleat and others that it will fit right in with their training of other best practices.
So they didn't think 4 hours was too long?
I'm sorry, what?
Well, they didn't think, well, I'll ask one of the officers.
No, you can't. But no, I'm telling you how, since I'm laying it out, it was 8 in the House that passed unanimously. Coming forward, I, working with law enforcement, Cleat and others, decided that 4 would probably be sufficient.
Okay.
And that's how 4 was arrived at. It's amazing the large number of hours that the officers get, certainly as cadets, but even when they do the intermediate promotions, it's like 400 hours. So the stakeholders thought that 4 was reasonable, and it will incorporate many aspects of dealing with canine, protecting the officer for sure, and then also protecting the family pets. And there was a coming to minds of 4 hours being reasonable.
Okay.
I think, and obviously law enforcement can certainly speak with better qualifications than me, but I depended on them as my advisors.
Okay, well, we have some witnesses who'd like to testify on this bill, so I'll open public testimony and call up Cindy Bowling, Cole Middleton, Christopher Rivas, and Jason Dusterhoft. Those are 4 people. Yeah, y'all can come up and have a seat at the table. And let's try to do this in 2 minutes each.
Well, except the Bowlings have a...
Okay.
Let the Bowlings go by themselves.
Mr. Bowling, absolutely. I didn't realize. Miss Bowling?
The Bowlings, Madam Chair, are the key witnesses.
Okay.
They were the impetus for it and had a tragedy. And
you take all the time you need. The timer's not on for you. We want to hear your story. Thank you very much for being here,
I
Mrs.
appreciate
Bowling.
that, but I also appreciate how fast everyone else has spoken, and I'm going to do my best.
No. If I could,
please.
And Joan Huffman, Sherry, when we have people that have been victims of bad circumstances, we don't turn on the clock. We understand this is part of the way you handle the loss, and hopefully some closure to it. So the time is yours.
Thank you.
Now, don't keep us here to midnight.
No, sir. I have a long way to travel home, as Senator
But tell
Burton
us
understands.
and tell us what's on your heart and mind, and you are the impetus behind this legislation, so we hope this goes a long ways toward your loss, preventing future losses.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Cindy Bowling, and I'm here with my husband, Mark Bowling, and we are definitely testifying in favor of House Bill 593, as Senator Whitmire identified as the Canine Encounter Training Bill for Texas peace officers. She started this for us, our Lily.
Listen to the testimony.
Since shortly after Memorial Day weekend of May 26, 2012, my husband and I have been dedicated almost every single day of our lives to persuading law enforcement agencies to train their officers under canine encounter training and to passage of this legislation. So I hope you can imagine how important this day is to us. We've been waiting a long time. It was on May 26, 2012, that a young Fort Worth officer arrived on our driveway, started walking up our driveway, and he was at the wrong address investigating a 2-day-old routine copper theft call. Mark and I had no idea why he was at our home, but we weren't concerned. He was a police officer. We watched our border collie, Lily, go up to him. Again, we weren't concerned. He's a police officer. We lived in our home for 23 years. What we did not know was that this officer was scared of dogs, and he had never had canine encounter training. And in a matter of minutes, he shot our Lily in front of us before we even knew what was happening. It's been devastating for us, of course, but it was also horrible for Frank Brown when he realized he had killed our baby. He told Chief Halstead he will never forget my screams, ever. In the following days, we learned that Texas peace officers do not receive canine encounter training before they enter the field. Yet peace officers are the first responders for everything. They encounter dogs in the course of almost every kind of officer interaction with the public, even during traffic stops. Mark and I started our legislative campaign then at the urging of Fort Worth Chief Jeff Halstead. In August of 2011, the Department of Justice prepared a report on this issue because it became a growing problem. And it found that in most law enforcement agencies, the majority of shooting incidences involve dogs, and the primary cause of the shootings is, quote, insufficiently trained officers. Okay. As Senator Whitmire pointed out, 1 in 3 calls for a peace officer involve dogs. The DOJ also found that, quote, the use of a weapon is seldom required in dog-related encounters, and that lethal force is a last resort and rarely necessary. The lack of this training has been the cause of devastation for us and hundreds of other Texas families. According to reports that we received, over 200 dogs were shot in Texas in 2014, and that's only information from 1/3 of our Texas cities. We learned from the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, TCOL, that the only way to get peace officers trained with a uniform curriculum is through legislation. With the help of THLN, a nonprofit organization, we started working in partnership with law enforcement organizations and with TCOL to pass legislation to mandate a uniform training curriculum with TCOL's oversight to ensure the success of the training. This bill creates uniform training for law enforcement officers and prepares them for a safe, non-confrontational outcome. I'll skip. As Senator Whitmire said, the The training is only a one-time course, and it fits right into the training program. Certain officers are already grandfathered. If they've had training, they do not have to be trained again. And this bill does not prohibit officers from using deadly force against dogs to protect themselves or others. This bill only requires training so that shooting a dog would be a last resort. And you must know, many peace officers have dogs of their own. They don't want to shoot dogs. They've never been trained in any other way. I think it's significant that the most common statement made by a peace officer after lethal force is used is, "I was in fear of imminent bodily injury." And that begs the question, when these officers are going back to their commanders and saying, "I shot the dog because I was in fear of something," then I have to ask, why in the world are these officers not being provided the training to deal with and overcome a fear? We've received feedback from many officers that have said they've been wanting and needing this training for a long time. By way of example, we have a multitude of support from a police chief and 2 sheriffs in the Amarillo area, and of course from Fort Worth and Arlington. They've been champions of this legislation, and Cleburne and Forest Hill, and I could go Austin, the list could go on. We want to see this training happen before another loss and before a city becomes the subject of a media tidal wave. You all may not be aware, but when Cleburne had a shooting, there was so much outrage that someone hacked the city website and shut their city website down for 3 days. Yet Cleburne has signed a resolution in support of this legislation, and every single one of their officers have been trained. And they called me, and I helped them. This legislation will provide peace officers with the much-needed training that they want, something that Mark and I and many, many other Texans are willing to achieve for our peace officers and the other citizens that rely upon them in our community. Eventually, all Texas peace officers in every agency will have been trained to address a fear of imminent bodily injury during a canine encounter, because they will be trained to have a different state of mind, and they will know they have other tools to handle an encounter with a non-lethal method. This legislation is good for every single citizen and community in Texas, of which, of course, peace officers are a huge part. We have the support of law enforcement, but as T. Cole confirmed, we need you all to make this legislation happen. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. So with that, Senator Whitmire, Mark and I thank you from the depths of our hearts. Thank you so much. We thank all of you. Any questions?
Any questions of Ms. Bowling?
Wealth of information.
Thank you very much for being here, Ms. Bowling, and sharing your story. Sir, did you have a card? Did you want to testify, or just here for moral support?
I'm just for moral support.
Great.
And I also, if you had any questions.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. Thank both of you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll call up Cole Middleton, Christopher Rivas, and Jason Dusterhoff. Is it okay? Okay. Just a second. Cole Middleton? You're Cole?
I'm Mrs. Middleton.
You're Mrs. Middleton. You're here. You're there for moral support. Great. Okay, Cole, you can go ahead. Thank you.
My name's Cole Middleton. This is my wife, Jana. We milk cows on a family dairy farm in northeast Texas, about 4.5 hours from here, about 65 miles east of Dallas. On April the 18th, 2014, our house was broken into and robbed on Good Friday. She was shopping, and I was at the dairy barn working that morning. Called law enforcement. That's what you do. If you follow or if something happens, you call for help. And called, said that our house had been broken into. Please send somebody out here to investigate this. And I waited at my house for about 2 hours. Nobody came. My 80-year-old grandfather's out there on the tractor. And And I finally said, I've got to go get Grandpa the tractor. This is in the afternoon. And so I went and got on the tractor myself, and I left my blue heeler cow dog, Candy, she's 3, on my front porch. Because the season had just started, and she had ridden that tractor a long time. And since I was right there at my house, well, she could watch me from the front porch. I watched the officer pull in my driveway. I turned my tractor and headed to my house. Before I could get there, he had done got out, and he'd shot Candy in my front yard. We're talking a dog that's 35 pounds. Friendly, no problems with anybody. This man pulled in our house, and all he had on his belt was a gun. He didn't have any pepper spray. He didn't have a taser. He didn't have anything else to deal with my sweet Candy other than that gun. And he chose to deal with her in the wrong way because he shot her in the back of the head, and he was charged with animal cruelty and indicted by a grand jury. And he lost his law enforcement license, and he'll never do this to anybody else ever again. We need this to get passed so that other families don't have to endure what we went through. And the training will help. The training will help. My UPS man, he never had any problems with Candy. My mail lady, no problems. But somebody that didn't know how to deal with her, or who chose just not to deal with her, chose to kill her and end her life. And jobs that took me 5 minutes with her then become our jobs. He took my best tool in my business and our friend and family member. We appreciate you listening to this. Appreciate the time you've given me and my wife to testify.
Thank you. And, you know, sometimes I think that the public thinks they waste their time to come down here, and I can tell you that Ms. Bowling and your testimony just convinced me to vote for this bill. So, because I was a no when I walked in here, I can tell you, because I thought, I don't. See, so you can make a difference, and that's a good thing.
We've had millions. We was reaching 1.6 million on my Facebook page at one time, and we told everybody we'll get justice for Candy. We'll get this law passed, and that's why we're here.
Well,
I left the farm today to come down here.
You go back to your milking.
Contrary to popular belief, we do have hearts as politicians.
That's right. And we do listen.
We thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. All right.
We're going to go back to our 5-month-old son now.
Okay. And thank you. Mr. Rivas?
Yes, Chris Rivas. I'm representing myself. I just wanted to say that it's very moving to hear these people speak about their animals, their Lily and their Candy. And we think of these as our family almost. And this is where I have a little concern about kind of the scope of the training to be moved kind of beyond encounters to awareness. Were someone, say, detained and not able to attend to their animal, and it was left to starve for some amount of time, that would be a horrible thing, and an equally tragic loss, I think. So I would hope that there would be some degree of awareness or cognizance on the part of peace officers to inquire as to the presence of an animal in a residence before vacating the residence.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Rivas, for your input. And Mr. Dusterhoff, Officer Dusterhoff.
Yes, Jason Dusterhoff, Assistant Chief with the Austin Police Department. Chairman, committee members, I appreciate you listening. In 2013, APD looked at a program. We wanted to be proactive in some of the dog shootings we had. And we felt that if we did a nationwide search and actually looked at proactive policies, we could probably reduce the amount of shootings we had. So on this, we found a school that basically provided a better perspective on countering dog attacks, an improved understanding on how to prevent a dog attack, help officers become less fearful of dogs, find out ways that they can actually deal with that fear, less lethal ways to counter dog behaviors, and a better knowledge of dog behaviors and warning signs. When they go to these locations, they can understand a defensive posture against an aggressive posture. So now we have this 4-hour training. We've trained all patrol officers. We've included this in our academy. So we're already doing what we're asking, I think, the rest of the state to do, and I think we're seeing a really good outcome on that. The officers that we've talked to that have gone through this have had very positive input on it, and they believe it's helped them deal with the animals when they have to actually go out there. And I want to echo, I don't think any law enforcement officer ever goes out on a shift and typically tries to injure a person or an animal. Now, that's not saying that some people are not trained where they should be, and I think this bill would actually help that.
All right. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you for this panel. We also have Kim Vickers from the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement as a resource witness if anyone has any questions. And then members members, we have a large staff, all in support of the bill, all from the Austin Police Association, the Justice of the Peace and Constables, the sheriffs, Houston Police Department, retired police, and if there's no objection, can we just enter all these into the record? They're all in support. They're from agencies all around the state. No objection, so ordered. You ready to move this? All right, Senator.
Can I say something?
Sure. Is that okay? Come on up.
I was just gonna say that.
Come on up. And you can fill out a little card. A little card, not a big card.
Well, my name is Landon, and I just wanted to say that.
Put the mic in your face.
Well, I just wanted to say that my dog was shot, and I just really don't want this to happen again. I was just playing with my friend outside when my dog was shot, and I just really don't want this to happen again, and it's most of the reason that I'm here. And
What's his name?
when I found out that Vinny was shot, I was just really scared. So.
Leah didn't tell us your full name. Tell us what city you live in.
No.
Say your name.
Say it.
Well, my name's Landon Bimberton.
You live in Liberty Hill.
I live in Liberty Hill.
Okay. What was your dog's name?
Vinny, the
Vinny?
one that got shot. Is
What kind of dog was it?
Shepherd.
German Shepherd.
Those are great dogs. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing your story. I know Senator Whitman. Yeah. And your dad will help you fill out the card. Good work. Thank you for being a brave boy, Landon. All right. Does anybody else want to testify for, on, or against committee substitute in House Bill 593? Okay, public testimony is closed. Now Senator Whitmire moves that House Bill 593 be reported favorably to the full Senate with the recommendation that it do pass and be printed. Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Whitmire.
Aye.
Senator Huffman.
Yes. Aye.
Senator Hinojosa. Senator Creighton. Senator Perry.
Aye.
Senator Burton.
Aye.
That's 5.
There being 5 ayes and no nays, the House Bill 593 will be reported favorably to the full Senate. Do you want to take that to the floor?
Certified for local.
Okay.
Just in case I
Senator
missed it.
Whitmire moves it be certified for the local and uncontested calendar. Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Yes, we might take this forward. We'll get it passed.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You want that back? First I say all your thing about lawyers there today. Yeah. I was like, yeah, me too. See, I know people. But if they're trained, they'll know when they have to. Don't they?